AA Best Bail Bonds big game coverage live from Miami.
It's the Blitz here on 1250 ESPN San Antonio, 94.5 FM on the go at ESPNSA.com. Wherever you might be, don't you wish you were with us, because it's our AA Best Bail Bonds Radio Row coverage continues with Josh Booty, man, good friend of the show. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you, man.
I appreciate you guys having me again, and this media row is awesome, man. The way they set it up this year, I'm glad I'm here. Glad I'm hanging out with you guys.
Well, I mean, you know, it's the life that you live, man. You talk about people that live the best life, and you're on that list.
I don't know about that.
I mean, you're follow Josh on the socials, and you know what I mean.
I try to play a little golf and watch a little football, a little of everything.
He's either on a golf course that most of us can't even get through
the
gates. He's at a great party with some incredible people, or he's at a football game.
You can't beat that. And I've got family playing football. I got kids. I got nephews. I got brothers coaching. I mean, it's fun when you got a group of boys you grew up with, your dad's a coach, and always involved somehow, some way in football. And, of course, LSU this year was unbelievable.
Oh, my goodness. The family business is football, and the family pride is LSU. And let's get into it. Josh Booty, you're LSU quarterback. This season, you know, I think we can rightfully say, as we look in the rearview mirror, that it was the greatest season any college football team's ever had.
I think so. I think, you know, you could probably debate teams and players that went on, you know, NFL greatness, Miami's, and maybe some of the Nebraska teams that just, you know, crushed people back in the 80s or 90s, and SC's teams with Pete Carroll, great teams. Texas had a great run with Mac Brown and Vince Young. But, I mean, this LSU team, our resume speaks for itself. No SEC team's ever gone 15-0. Playoff system now. You got to win 2 to win it all once you get in the playoff deal. And Burrow, 60 touchdowns. I mean, come on. We went to the spread offense this year, and we look like we've been doing it forever. And I think that was the biggest reason why the fans got so excited, you know, during this run we had this year, was just the way we were winning. We've never thrown the ball like that and had success like that offensively.
And you think about it as a quarterback, do you sit there and go, damn, why weren't we doing that in my day?
Oh, I would have loved it. I was in double tight, you know, 2 backs, and we were doing play action on 3rd and 12. It was crazy. Hey, what are we doing here? You know,
teams were biting
2-minute offense. Yeah, they were biting on it. That's how stupid everybody was.
Now the fact that Coach O, as he's getting the trophy, talked about the Texas game up in Austin that really kind of turned the season. As a Longhorn, I don't know if I like that or hate that. You know what I mean? But to be a part of it.
It was, you know, everybody talks about that 3rd and 17 pass that Burrow threw to Jefferson. It was a great play in the grand scheme of things for us, and we had to win that game to gain momentum, to gain, you know, I think for the whole, you know, offensive unit to begin to know that we can do this, we can run this spread, we can, you know, you got to gain an identity along the way, you got to have confidence, and it's got to domino as you go, and those are some of the things that I thought that game was awesome for us, because we had to win it. I thought, and for Texas, and I know you're Longhorn, I mean, for them it was a tough swallow, a tough pill to swallow, and it really set them back a little bit in their mindset.
That game turned 2 seasons.
It did. It really did. And so I knew that was kind of something we talked about all week that week, is one team is going to, you know, come out of this game feeling real good, and another team's going to feel real bad, because, you know, and they're going to do it again next year. They're going to tee it up again. So that Longhorn's coming to Baton Rouge.
That's going to be an interesting weekend in Baton Rouge as all those burnt orange rolls into town.
It'll be fun.
You don't want to talk about the Aggie game?
Well, I would, but I wouldn't actually call it a game. We were tackling dummies is what we were against the.
I figured Fisher would come in with a little something, but from the get-go, we just played I thought our most complete game. Defensively, we'd had a bad game against Ole Miss prior to that game, and everybody was saying, you know, Dave Aranda, who's now at Baylor, Texas guy now, but you know, what are we going to do on defense? We know we can score points, but can we really shut teams down when we have to? Because we're going to have to, you know, the rest of the way. And we had to against Oklahoma and Clemson and Georgia after A&M. But I thought that was a tone-setting game for us on defense to show, you know, we can shut down really, you know, whoever we play the rest of the way. We'll have some good defensive days.
When you saw Joe Burrow last year, for the first year, did you have any belief that what was going to happen happened? I mean, certainly he had skill set, but my gosh.
We laughed because at media day, SEC media days, he said, we're going to score 40, 50, 60 points a game. That's the kind of offense we're going to be. And all of us people who've been around the program forever is like, hey, I'm glad he said it, but there ain't no way we're doing that type of thing. And I think we scored 40, 12 out of 15 games, and 40 plus. I mean, it was just unbelievable. But we had great leadership. Joe Brady came in, the offensive passing game coordinator guy, came in to help Ensminger with the spread. And, man, we were in 5 wide receiver sets. We'd never been in 4 wide receiver sets, much less 5 wide receiver sets. And our tailback, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, had an unbelievable year, especially in the big ball games. And you know how that takes pressure off a QB. He caught a lot of passes out of the backfield. We just were, efficient. And Burrow was extremely efficient. Even in his down-the-field throws, when he chose to run, when he needed to run, he'd take a sack every now and then, but for the most part, man, he was protected up, threw on time, and we were moving the chains.
If you're an SEC football fan, specifically an LSU football fan, what you just heard, you can catch us all the time on a podcast that you're doing called Believe in LSU, right?
Yeah, I'm on the Believe Podcast Network. It's a Los Angeles network, but there's a lot of schools out there that now have their own podcast, like I do at LSU. I think Jason Campbell has one at Auburn. So a lot of former players are getting involved, and it's a new podcast network. It's been around 2 or 3 years, but it's a growing podcast network, and I'm happy to be a part of it and do the LSU stuff. So we cover it weekly.
Well, and you're so good on radio or podcasting. And
thank you.
Well, when we met you last year, it was like, dude, you should be doing radio all the time. And damn, a year later, you got your own show.
Well, I love doing it. I'd love to be a part of more and more, and that's why we're here. To try to get involved as much as you can and stay a part of football.
No. As we visit with Josh Booty here on ESPN San Antonio, you think about LSU coming off of the year they had. Edo gets the big contract, well-deserved, but, Brady's gone. Joe Burrow is going to be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Coming into next year, after the year-long offseason party that is going on in Baton Rouge, first game is against UTSA, and they've got a new coach in Jeff Traylor. Now I'm thinking, man, they're just going to get smoked. It might be 90-0 in that game. Or will there be some sort of hangover if you're LSU? Just talent, they're going to win the game. We all know that. But what do you expect going into next season?
Well, I think with a new quarterback, you got lots to prove, right? It's a whole nother year, and you can't rely on Joe Burrow anymore. He's going to be in Cincinnati probably and doing his thing. So, Miles Brennan, who we think is going to be the starter unless someone comes in and beats him out, and with these new transfer rules, the last 3 Heisman winners are transfer portal guys. So, that could happen too. We don't know. But right now, Miles Brennan is the guy, and he's been around. He was a backup to Burrow, so he got to watch him. He knows these receivers. He's been in practice sessions now for 2 or 3 years with these guys. We got a lot of good players coming back. If you look at the ratings with the stars and 5 stars and 4 stars, 3 stars, we're loaded on offense. Really loaded, especially at tailback and receiver. And so we got guys
every year at LSU.
Yeah, it is. But now we can utilize them. Hopefully, we can utilize these game-changing threats that we've always had. So, anyways, I think we'll be okay. But it'll be a proving. First couple games especially is going to be some proven ground time for Miles Brennan because everybody's going to have Joe Burrow memories on their top of their mind.
Before we let you go, I want to talk about Ed Ogeron. I believe it was a perfect match of a man and a time. I don't believe he would be successful anywhere else but where he is right now.
I agree. He fits in perfectly. And when they named him the head coach, and I've known him forever, he recruited my family, my brothers at Miami, recruited my brother J.D. out to SC. He played out there for him, and Pete Carroll, Norm Chow, and Sarkisian, and Kevin. He's been around some great coaches, and I think he's taken a lot from, a little bit from a lot of the places he's been, and he's a great recruiter, but he's a Louisiana guy, so he knows how to go in there and talk to those families and those high school coaches and get them excited about what he can do for those kids and how hard he'll work to get those kids to the next level and how much he pays attention to those kids. And he does. He really does. He's a genuine guy. He's the hardest working guy in the building, and it's starting to show and pay off. And we didn't know if he's going to be around long, but he made some good hires. and Aranda was one of them. You know, Brady was just a perfect fit for us this year, and hopefully we'll continue some of that. But coaching is going to be a big part of how long he does stay there. You know, the guys that he gets in there to coach with him.
That's what it is. Now, as a quarterback guru, you look at the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday, you know, and everybody talks about this is going to be a high-scoring Super Bowl. If that's the case, I lean Patrick Mahomes because I trust him more. But if it is late, and I know Garoppolo did it against the New Orleans Saints, but which quarterback do you trust the most in this game?
Well, Patrick Mahomes is the most dynamic player in all of the NFL, but I think Shanahan does such a good job with his play calling for the 49ers that he gives them a real chance. You know, they run the ball effectively. And you know, he was in Atlanta, and they got in a tough situation. They lost that game where the Patriots came back. And you know, they didn't run the ball enough to end that game. And I think that's really what now with his power running schemes and the way he, you know, wants to control the clock too and running the football, he's kind of migrated in that direction, knowing, you know, at the end of games you better be able to close them out, you know, and the Falcons were high flying a few years ago, and Matt Ryan, all those guys, Julio Jones were great, but I think Kyle Shanahan really gives Garoppolo a chance to, you know, they run the ball well, they play action well, they added the great receiver in the middle of the year, the tight end's amazing, this running back has just been amazing speed-wise, they do the speed sweeps and all the things, so they make you cover every little thing, you know, and so I think Garoppolo's got as good a chance as any because of that play calling, you know, situation that he's in the middle of with Shanahan. He's unbelievable. So, but Mahomes is by far the better quarterback in my opinion.
My goodness,
he's like Elway, you know, and Aaron Rodgers combined. It's crazy.
And it feels like if the game goes the way people are talking, high scoring, and Kansas City wins it late, he will ascend to that level of Elway and Rodgers. You know, that he will have reached a level that no one has been able to reach.
He needs this to be at the very, very top. But
can you
I mean,
imagine
still
his
so
contract?
young.
You think about the money that guy's about to get paid?
It's
$40 million plus.
He's got my old agent, Lee Steinberg.
Well,
he's probably walking around
best,
here somewhere.
Man. He's on cloud 9.
Lee's back.
Yeah,
he's back, baby. I love it. That's great for Lee, though. He deserves it, man. He's gone through a lot, and he's the man.
He's a good guy, as are you. Josh Booty right here on ESPN San Antonio. You like the LSU talk? Believe in LSU wherever you can pick up your podcast. Make sure you're checking in. I'll listen just for the pain as I get ready for
There's always next year.
That is the Aggie mantra. We'll be back next year. Josh Booty, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, guys.